All right, Mike. This episode is about somebody's music who we have essentially grown up with and have, as adults, continued to grow with this person. This person is LL Cool J, and we're going to talk about his latest album because it's quite possible he's going to come out with more music, y'all. I think we're 15 albums in here or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
The Force, which came out in 2024. So that is the time frame in which we are going to kind of reflect on and get back to. Now, 2024 was not that long ago.
No, it was not. It was a little over a year ago as we record this.
So most of the, we've bounced around many different years, a lot of our younger years, and we've gone into our 30s. But this is the first time we've done something this recent. 2024. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it wasn't that long ago, so it's really hard to think of 2024 in the past. Um, you know, I mean, the worst thing about 2024 was the election, obviously, and that I think is probably my lasting memory. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to think of 15 months ago, right? As the past, it just wasn't all that long ago.
You know what's pretty interesting is Donald Trump's first 4 years, the single piece of art or content or whatever I think about when it comes to that time frame is the Last Tribe album. Like
Right.
that is the thing. Like I go back and if I want to listen to like what that time frame meant to me or what was going, I just go listen to that album.
Right.
Interestingly, this LL Cool J album, while it's not as blatant maybe as the Tribe album as far as the frustration of what was going on, there's some stuff in this album where you're like, oh, I didn't know that LL thought that about this. And the through line, it's possible that the through line is just Q-Tip, being that he
Yeah.
executive produced this album. But it was, as I reflected and I listened to this album again, I was like, damn, this dude does not have to bring up politics in any way. He doesn't have to bring out injustice in any way. This man lives a great life, but he still has thoughts and he can utilize his platform to get those thoughts across as a mid 50s year old guy who's basically been at the front of what we know as hip hop today. So I thought that was a refreshing thing about this album coming out in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not as blatantly political as Tribe's album or, the Kendrick album that came out around the same time. And I don't know that LL has ever been a particularly political rapper, but, it's good to hear him make mention of some of the things that were in the news at the time.
He's made some political missteps, I would say.
Oh, you know what? I didn't remember Accidental Racist until it was yesterday. And I was going through the track listing of his album Authentic.
Yeah.
And he has a song with Brad Paisley on that album that is not Accidental Racist.
Yes.
And I was like, wait, these dudes made two songs
Yes.
together?
It would be interesting to know, like if someone asked him at that moment in your career, leaning into country, what was like the reason other than to sell records, of course?
Yeah, to sell records. I think my dude was like, Nelly did it. If Nelly can do it, I can do it. But Nelly is actually from like a country-ish environment.
Right.
LL is from Queens. So, I don't that it felt like it didn't feel natural.
Yeah. And he even says they asked him about it on, I'm trying to think of what the show, it may have been when he was on Questlove Supreme, which he was on Questlove Supreme when they did the 50th
The Hip Hop 50 tour together. Yeah.
Right. And I think that tour may have been called The Force, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think you're right.
So LL and Questlove are in communication, and Questlove is like kind of like the director of like the whole concert, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so as always, our guy, Quest, what was Questloff's partner on that show?
Fonte or
Fonte, yeah,
Bahia or
Fonte.
yeah,
Fonte
yeah.
is a giant hip hop head. Just the big, like the
He's a music head. I mean, Fonte has tuned me into like music that you would not expect, but he's just a music head. Fonte is like us.
so he asked LL about accidental racist, and he was like, "What were you trying? Like, what was the communication you were trying to, you know, get to us?" And so LL was like, "Well, this is what I was trying to do," and he was like, "But it's just like an NBA player who like misses a jump shot to win to lose the game. He's like, I just brick that thing so hard."
Right.
And so he is, and when you are as successful as him, but also as reflective as him, you can kind of take those L's because I'm sure he took them in real time.
I
As
mean, the internet was interneting for sure,
yes,
even like kind of that early in the game, and I'm pretty sure there were people in his camp or who were fans of his who were just like, "What is happening?" And I mean, a I I know who Brad Paisley is. I've had some of his records before. Like I'm I wouldn't say that I'm a super fan, but I'm familiar with his work, and I think the intention of the record was good. Like what it was trying to put across was admirable. The execution was just super bad.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, if you were to describe LL Cool J in one singular word, what would that word be?
Ah, wow.
Wow,
London.
wow's a good word.
It wouldn't be wow. Um. Oh.
I mean, there's some easy ones,
Man.
right?
Yeah.
Icon,
Yeah.
legend, like those are easy ones. But I didn't know if there's one particular thing that you kind of linked to him when you thought about him.
You know what? Chameleon.
Mm,
Just because here's a dude that started out in the Run DMC era, in the not even in like the Gold Chain era, like the pre-Gold Chain era, um, and is still a viable act in 2026.
yeah.
Like that's not even like put rap aside. How many musicians can say they could have sold out an arena in 1987 and 1988 and can still sell out an arena in 2026?
Have you been to an LL concert?
I have. I saw him. He did a package tour. I want to say 11 or 12 years ago, and it was him, Public Enemy, Ice Cube, and De La Soul.
I should have gone to the Force. This is one of those things where you kind of just like regret, missing an opportunity. And
Sure.
some of it is just because they had a lot of acts on that tour, so I knew I was gonna get the greatest hits of certain people and not like this really like, engaging thing. But
Right.
they did such a great job with it and bringing in the different flavors from wherever they were going to be, and just the opportunity to see LL at that moment, I regret. I have seen him at stuff like hot summer nights kind of things where it's just like a
Right.
bunch of acts and they do like 5 songs and they get off the stage. I actually saw LL and BBD, and trying to think of who else was there. Um Lots of people who I would not have paid to see, by the way. But, they just kind of
But it
grouped a
was
lot of people together,
LL
but
and
LL was
BBD.
there, so I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, yeah, I'm in." Okay, I see, another word you could have used to d that the thing that pops up is, bloatitious.
Oh man,
He, she?
that
Um,
that is a classic verse. Don't know what the hell LL is talking about.
he said it was talking about nothing. He was like, "Yeah, it was just words that, made up words that I would just do as jokes with a friend and just get on the record." By the way, though, with the Force, Q-Tip specifically said, "No bullshit on this one, man." Like,
Yeah, I mean, iron has to sharpen iron, right?
yeah,
Um, LL, as I was listening back to his catalog and trying to make like my own list of my favorite LL albums, I was like, man, LL has been so inconsistent over
Yeah.
the entire course of his career. Like every album has like five joints on it, and then like another five songs that are like, man, what are you thinking?
Yep. Absolutely. Like, and here's where I kind of this is where as I did all my research like you, I got through every album 1 through 10 all the way through. And
Okay,
then up until the Force, and I listened to the Force up and back. But post 10, I was just like skipping through stuff because I was like, okay, I there's no reason really to listen to all of these albums in full. And
right.
here's where I landed with LL. And I'm interested in what you think about this. I even wrote it down because I wanted to say it the way that I was thinking at the moment. Because he was doing so many things at once with the acting and just literally being a celebrity, he was often behind trends. There are good songs on all of his albums, but for instance, on 2006's Todd Smith, he leans into 50 Cent pretty hard. 50 Cent was 3 years before that, like not 2006 as far as like the peak of 50.
I
And it
mean, well, wait, 50's on Exit 13. He's not on Todd Smith. Todd Smith is kind of the album where he did songs with like all the R&B people. Um,
I think there's a yeah, no, you're right. I think during that Todd Smith time, he did some stuff with 50, and maybe it just didn't come out. But you might be right. I think you're probably right. I might be getting those two albums mixed up. But essentially, the idea is he like he leans into these trends, and at the moment, like he's got like a song that sounds like Missy Elliott ish, but Missy Elliott did it like 2 years ago.
right.
And so he's so behind in the trends, and he's playing catch up constantly. And so being away for as long as he was with this album and having Q-Tip, who he's never going to chase trends, and he's going to kind of create this layout for LL that he thinks will be really good for him. And like that's what made this new album really good. But if you compare it to the others, it's just like there's like this template of like 1997 on every single album that he does. And I'm like, why of all the year? Maybe because it's easy. Is it because you're just trying to get some hooks in there? And I
I
don't know.
think, yeah, I think those last couple of albums prior to the Force, he was like, man, I just want hits. He was like, I'm gonna chase whatever sound is on the radio right now, and like he did the whole album with Timbaland, he did the whole album with the Neptunes, he was just kind of like chasing hits,
Hmm.
and I think you know the previous album, the Authentic album, bombed so hard. It was like, all right, LL Cool J is not going to be at the forefront of pop culture anymore. So when he came back with the Force, it was like, yo, let me just make let me make art. Let me make a record that I feel is going to speak to hip hop. And I'm not trying to get on the radio, and I'm not trying to like do all this stuff. I'm not trying to get on MTV. I mean, obviously the landscape has changed quite a bit,
Hmm.
but it was like, let me make an album, like let me make a really, really good LL Cool J album, and not an album to like have, a number one record.
Yeah. And like there are things in his music, like you said, where you can point at a song and you go, "Oh man, like he really tried on that song. Like he
Right.
wanted something." But then there's others that are just filler. And one thing that he said, I don't remember what interview. It may have been the Shannon Sharp Club Shay interview that I listened to. But he said a lot of times what would influence him, or as he's making an album, like there are just things he finds humorous or fun that he wants to put on wax. And then there are other things that are a little bit more statement oriented, like this latest album where he's in the mood for a statement. He wants to do something that is a little bit more meaningful rather than kind of just fun stuff. And I think the Authentic album is kind of like that fun, goofy LL that, yeah, I like a lot of it. I don't love all of it because some of it is just a little too goofy and fun. But so it seems like his inspiration to get back into recording things, it sort of varies. And I'm very happy that this last album, he wanted to actually make a statement.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if he puts his mind to it, he can actually accomplish it. And I do think, from the mid 90s, for the next 20 years, he's like doing movies, he's doing TV, he's endorsing brands, he's creating brands, he's doing all this different stuff. And I mean, great for his name recognition and his brand and his bank account. But I think when you do all that stuff, at some point your music is going to suffer.
Yeah. Okay. So the acronym FORCE stands for Frequencies of Real Creative Energy.
Okay.
Acronyms in hip hop, always love them, right?
Yeah.
All the
I
way back
mean,
to Knowledge Reigns Supreme.
supreme over nearly everyone.
Yeah,
Yes, indeed.
KRS One. What is your like some of your favorite hip hop acronyms?
Oh man, some of my favorite hip hop acronyms. I mean, well, you're wearing the goat hat. I mean, GOAT, greatest of all time. Um, I love that. I love oh man, Kane, King Asiatic, nobody's equal. Um, there's BIG, business instead of game. Um, man,
My favorite corny one,
uh-huh.
Fat Joe's first album,
Oh, jealous
Jealous
ones,
One's Envy.
envy. Yeah,
Fat Joe's second album,
jealous
Jose.
ones still, jealous ones still envy. Yes. I mean, go for the name recognition, I guess.
Yeah, hip hop acronyms are hilarious to me. I
Yes,
love
they
them. I
are.
love them. Okay, so 2024, the story in music. There are a few of them. Drake versus Kendrick. That was
Right.
a thing. Positively or negatively, these guys were making songs, and then like hours later, they're uploaded into like Apple Music and Spotify.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know, man. That whole thing. I mean, and we're talking about LL right now. LL pretty much started like mainstream
Oh,
hip hop
we
beef.
we we have a beef section. Don't you worry.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Um, you know, we're 2 years past that beef, or actually, we're kind of still in the beef, I guess, because Drake is just suing everybody
Yeah,
right
but he
now.
keeps losing the
The
lawsuits.
lawsuits. Yeah. I mean, I'm just like Kendrick. Kendrick is better than that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been like my kind of whole thing all along, is that he's kind of dumbing himself down to make himself look good in the eyes of the average hip hop listener. It's just like it feels like he's pandering a little bit. And look, I love Kendrick. I sort of felt like Not Like Us was an L for him, but it made him significantly bigger than he already was.
I mean, he
So
got to do it on the Super Bowl,
yeah,
so
yeah.
and I don't think if you think about what mainstream and pop music is, people probably weren't really paying attention to those lyrics all that close.
No, people. I mean, don't let me get on a Gen Z rant, but lyrics don't mean anything now.
Yeah, I know. Sad. Okay, another thing. It was Brat Summer with Charlie XCX, and then there was the Eras tour with Taylor Swift. It was, Taylor Swift has just been dominant these last several years.
Hmm.
Um, Cowboy Carter came out where Beyonce decided to put out a
A country
a con-
influenced
yeah
record.
country influence record. Which what do you think about that record, by the way? Because I don't think we're going to do it on. We're obviously not going to do it on
Nah,
this, but we will have a Beyonce conversation at some point.
I don't think it's a very good record. I also don't think it's a country record.
What would you classify it as?
It's a pop record. It's a Beyonce record. There's songs on there that are like influenced by country.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's not a country record.
Mike said it, not me.
I mean,
Beyonce fans.
internet, come for me. I don't care.
What are Beyonce's fans called?
The
The
Beehive.
Beehive. Yeah.
Y'all are in a cult.
um, let's talk through some of this other stuff. So, February 4th, the 66th annual Grammys. Taylor Swift won Album of the Year with Midnights. Miley Cyrus won Record of the Year for Flowers.
Flowers, yeah.
I love that song.
That's a really good song.
Billie Eilish won for What Was I Made For, and Victoria Monet, Best New Artist. Now, this is an interesting one because we're going to also do an Usher episode. On February 9th, Usher released his first solo studio album in nearly 8 years and his first overall in 6 years. And he also, if I'm remembering correctly, he also was the halftime show at
He
the
was a
Super Bowl.
halftime performer at the Super Bowl, yeah.
So Usher back out there. How old is Usher
Yeah.
right now?
Usher's maybe 2 or 3 years younger than us. Usher was born in 78, if I remember correctly.
Usher Raymond. My goodness. On March 15th, Justin Timberlake releases his first studio album in 6 years. What did you think about that album?
I thought it was okay.
Better or worse than Man of the Woods?
Better than Man of the Woods.
Okay.
I think so Man of the Woods had maybe a little too much Pharrell on it. And with the last album, Justin kind of went back to just Timbaland and Timbaland's friends.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded a bit more cohesive. And he reunited with NSYNC for one song that's really nice. So,
yeah.
And
like we said, March 22nd, the Drake-Kendrick beef begins on Wax. March 29th, Beyonce releases Cowboy Carter. On May 17th, the New Kids on the Block release Still Kids. What do you think about that album?
Not very good.
So much so that when I reread this, I was like, wait, I did listen to that. How come I don't remember anything from it?
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
And this is a big year for like re-releases of people who we've kept up with for a good amount of our lives. September 6th, LL Cool J releases The Force, which is what we're going to talk about here. And September 15th, Tito Jackson passes away of a heart attack at only 70 years of age.
Yeah.
Chris Christopherson dies at the age of 88. I know Chris Christopherson's son, Jody, who is no longer, but was in the pro wrestling game in the Bay Area for a little bit. Yep. He even got signed to WWE, but did not make it out of like the kind of the farm league. But yeah, I would see him at at a bunch of shows, and then I met Chris at one of them because I was just there and I knew I was like, I had to meet him and just say hi at least. And
that is mad random.
That was like, gosh, that was probably like, I would say 10 years ago, probably.
Wow.
Yeah. And on September 7th, Sissy Houston, maybe this might actually be October 7th. Sissy Houston dies at the age of 91, obviously the mother of Whitney. And then in October as well, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, featuring Dave Matthews, Cher, Mary J. Blige, A Tribe Called Quest, and Jimmy Buffett. That is one of the ones that I watched because of the Tribe.
Yeah, I watched it because of Tribe and Mary. And, I mean, I love Dave Matthews Band, too. So it was definitely a ceremony that I was fully invested in.
And then another biggie, November 3rd, Quincy Jones passes away, also at the age of 91.
Long, full life.
Did you ever see the Netflix documentary on him?
Yeah, the one that Rashida directed. Yeah, it was really, really good.
I started it, but I never finished it. It's one that I want to go back to for sure.
So speaking of Questlove Supreme, allegedly there is an episode or maybe episodes with Quincy that are not allowed to be released. Basically,
wasn't he like talking about Laia or something?
I don't know what I mean, Quincy, as he got older and his filter started to disappear more, was going in on like his relationship with Michael,
Oh.
and you know, talking about how like Marvin Gaye and Richard Pryor and Marlon Brando were all having sex
Oh,
together
wow.
and all this stuff. And I think it was kind of like, you know, let's take the old man back to bed.
Yeah, we don't wanna get sued either.
Yeah.
I would because they always make jokes about Laia's feet, so somebody had a foot fetish with her, so I thought maybe it could have been someone.
I could, I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Okay, so I wanna go through some of the history of LL. Now, we could spend hours talking about
Seriously.
his discography and his history. Um, so let's go through the beefs because he is famous for all of the people
So many of
that
them.
he had beef with. And I guess the first one would be Kool Moe Dee. This is back in the late 80s. Kool Moe Dee felt that LL was biting him a little bit, biting
Yeah.
his style.
Yeah. And that's, you know, the innocent old school type of beef where it's just like, you sound like me, I
Yeah.
don't like you, and you're kind of making records back and forth. And that lasted for a long time. Now that beef was years upon years.
I mean, it's kind of still there. Like when you hear LL talk about it, like, he'll still make jokes about, like, he'll say like, yeah, we squashed it, but then he'll make a joke about Kool Moe Dee, and I'll be like, did you really squash it?
Just squash it, you know.
So obviously the How You Like Me Now album with the Kangol hat underneath the Jeep.
You're getting run over by the Jeep.
Um, Jack the Ripper, which was not available on album like forever.
It was so if you bought like Walking with the Panther had a different track listing for the CD, the vinyl, and the tape. Like each of those three versions had a different track listing, and I think Jack the Ripper was on the tape, but not the CD or the LP.
Yeah, because I have the CD and the LP, and it's not on there.
It's not on there. Yeah,
And then LL on Mama Said Knock You Out, he kind of goes at a bunch of dudes on To the Break of Dawn.
yeah.
And then it kind of stops at that point. And Kool Moe Dee's not in the mainstream as
It's
much.
not relevant anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
post 1990. So who wins, there's always about who won the battle or who won the beef. Now, the good thing about these beefs is, because we talked in our Tupac show how a beef, a fictionalized thing, actually led to the passing and the killings of these guys, and not only these guys but other people involved.
yeah. Tons of other people that were involved.
And
Right.
and Biggie always said, beef is when I see you, and then he's saying, definitely in the ICU, like he
Yeah,
uses that rhyme scheme.
yeah.
This was not like that, which is
Nah,
why I don't
They
feel
kept
like we're
they kept it classy.
yeah, we're not really glamorizing it in any way. These are just like
Yeah,
fun things that happen on wax, though I'm sure at the time, these guys were fired up. So the Canibus one is during the 1997 Phenomenon recordings. There's a posse cut called 4321, and supposedly Canibus went up to LL and was like, I want to get a microphone tattoo on my arm just like you. And LL, as a wise older man now, he's like, yeah, I was wrong. He's like, this young kid idolizes me,
idolizing them. Yeah,
and I basically just told him, like, you got to earn it, dude. Like, you can't bite me. Like, what are you thinking? Like that kind of thing. Like,
right,
being a bigger brother in a way, but also, being very protective of what you did, and like this kid hasn't earned this yet.
right.
And so Canibus is on that song, and LL kind of closed that song by dissing the man who was just in that song before him.
Right.
That was wild. So Canibus comes out with what is it? Second round
Second round
KO.
KO. Yeah.
And the Mike
Mm-hmm.
Tyson's in the video.
Mm-hmm.
And then LL comes back with the Ripper Strikes Back. And somehow Wyclef is
Wyclef
involved.
got roped into it because Wyclef, I think, was managing Canibus at the
Right.
time. Yeah.
And then LL calls him the Bob Marley
Rasta
impasta.
called him the Rasta Impasta.
Yeah.
And then Clef had a diss record.
What's Clef got to do
What's
with
Clef
it?
got to do with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what's funny is like post haste, because there's another one that is not even hip hop relevant. It is Jamie Foxx
Oh,
when they
right.
were on Any Given Sunday. Supposedly, LL punched him in the face or
I
something.
mean, that wasn't a beef. LL just beat his ass.
Yeah, and
I mean,
so, but what LL has done with some of these folks now, as far as I know, he and Kool Moe Dee did not collaborate. He and Canibus also did not collaborate, though they squashed beef, I think, at a concert. He brought Canibus on stage. But the Jamie Foxx one and the Wyclef Jean one,
they did
they're on
records
songs
together.
with him later in
Yeah,
his career.
they
So,
did records together. Yes.
um, okay. So Ice-T in the late 80s, they clash over, real hip hop, and Ice-T's on the West Coast. And he's like, a lot of people thought that LL was kind of leaning a little bit too much commercial, but he was also very famous at the time.
Right.
And if you want to get on the map, who better to take a shot at than LL? Though Ice-T had he was also had a good career, but he kind of took a shot at him. And then he's also into to the break of dawn with LL.
Yep.
LL crushes a Hammer, Mo, and Ice-T's girls.
Ice-T's girl. That's right. That's right.
And so Questlove talks about this because when they were doing the tour, Ice-T is on it, and Questlove knows about the beef, and he's like trying to make sure, like, LL, like, what should I tell Ice-T not to do? Like, what, like he's kind of straddling lines, and LL's like, no, have him do everything. I want him to do the songs where he disses me. Like, that's like real Ice-T. I want him to be real Ice-T. And
Right.
so Quest, I was like, okay, good. I didn't have to like worry about any frustration between these two guys. And so, cooler heads prevail. These dudes are elder statesmen in the game.
Yeah. I mean,
They're
it's
both
kind of
very
like,
successful. They don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no need for beef. And also, like, IC is almost 70 years old.
Yeah.
LL is almost 60 years old. Like, there's nothing sadder than two old men, having like stupid beef that goes back 40 years.
LL's in Breaking 2, man.
Well, Ice T was in Beat
I,
Street.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Ice-T's in Breaking 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ice-T's in Breaking 2.
Yeah,
L
man.
L
LL's in Crush Groove.
L is in Crush Groove, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. We need to rewatch those. Do a show.
I mean, I saw Breaking 2 a couple years ago. I would 100% watch Crush Groove again, though.
What about Beach Street?
Maybe someplace in Brooklyn will do like a hip hop marathon movie, and I'll watch Beat Street again.
Blair Underwood in Crush Groove, right?
That's right, playing Russell Simmons.
Russell Simmons was like, I want the handsomest man alive to
Man
play
alive,
me.
right? Pretty much. But there's so many people in that movie. Like the Beastie Boys are in that movie. Run DMC,
New Edition.
Yep, Sheila E, the Fat Boys. Yeah, there's just so many. It's like a who's who of music in 1985.
The Jay-Z beef was never really settled on wax, and I still sense that LL doesn't really he's not the biggest Jay-Z fan even today. This stemmed from a young Jay-Z tried to battle LL back in the day, and LL was like, come on, man.
Yeah, I heard that story.
And then Jay-Z becomes president of Def Jam, and LL thinks that, you're not promoting me enough. You're not giving me enough love here. So there's got to be something going on from way back when. And I guess they're professional, but I can just sense that, LL is just not the biggest Jay fan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if what Jay has said about LL, but
I don't think he said anything about LL, like, ever.
So there was this thing on the Shannon Sharp, the Club Shay podcast, and Shannon Sharp asked this question in like a really weird way. He was like, who's your Mount Rushmore, but of Def Jam? And so I think what he was trying to do is he was trying to get LL to put Jay on the Mount Rushmore. But LL took that question as the Def Jam from my era. So he put all the OGs on the Mount Rushmore.
Right.
And Shannon was like, "Well, what about Jay-Z?" And like, I don't think people really think of Jay-Z as Def Jam. They think of him as
As Rockefeller.
Rockefeller.
Yeah.
So Shannon did not ask that question correctly, but I could tell Ella wasn't going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And he's like, and so he basically said, Jay-Z came 1,000 years after us. Like this is Def Jam, and that's who I'm putting on my
And that makes
Mount
sense. I
Rushmore.
mean, when I think of Def Jam, I think of, Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin and, the label that they built. And by the time Jay came around, I mean, I think Russ was still kind of running the label. Rick Rubin was long gone.
Mm-hmm.
And, Def Jam was basically like a corporate entity more than it was a label. And you're also right. Like, when you think of Jay-Z and a label, you think of Rockefeller, and you don't really remember that, those albums were all on Def Jam.
Yeah. And then the last one, which is not, this is kind of an unfair one. I don't even remember how Hammer, I think Hammer just kind of took shots at everybody on the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean, Hammer was just in New York rappers to begin with. Like that whole "Turn This Mother Out" video is actually he does diss LL directly on "Let's Get It Started." But yeah, his whole thing was like, New York rappers suck,
Yeah.
which is hilarious because Hammer is the worst rapper ever.
Well,
But
it was him being on the West Coast, him being independent and trying to make a name, and there's no easier way to
sure,
make a name than name drop the most famous rappers, and
yeah,
like that's just marketing in a sense.
yeah,
But then you also have to back it up, and the only like Hammer can't back it up. He can only create "Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him," which blows up, and that's kind of his, if you want to point to something, you go, okay, so I was successful in this very small period of time, but
period of time,
he doesn't last. And
right?
it's funny because Hammer also had issues with Jay-Z much later when Hammer didn't even really have a voice in music anymore. I don't even remember what that beef was about, but
I think Jay kind of like there's a line on one of his songs where he talks about blowing money like Hammer or something
yeah, he's
like
like
that.
20 mil can't hurt me. Like, or,
Right,
it was about Hammer going bankrupt and he's
right.
like 20 mil can't hurt me or something like that. And then Hammer got mad and started saying he was part of like some secret society or something.
You can't argue with facts, right? Did Hammer go broke? Yes, he did.
Yes.
All right, it's a factual statement.
And, it's a story that we've covered already on an episode, and we'll cover it again, which is industry rule number 4080. Like,
Yeah.
it's really hard to be successful just making
Successful,
records.
and my dude blew up and was selling records left, right, and that's great. But he also, and this is, I'm not mad at this. He went back to Oakland and basically hired everybody to work for him.
Yeah.
And in order to pay all these people, that money has to sustain.
Yep.
And I don't think that Hammer counted on his run of success being as short as it was. Because, Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him came out in 1990. By like 1994, 1995, Hammer was a has-been. So that run was super fast. And in order to maintain that level of business, you have to be on top for a long period of time.
How dare you disrespect Pumps and a Bumps, for one.
I mean, that was the end of the line, though.
Hammer was trying to tell us it's all good, and it really wasn't all good.
Well,
He did make. I think we're gonna do a Hammer episode as well.
we should do a Hammer episode.
I think we're gonna do one, but thinking back of the missteps of Hammer, like the missteps that he made were missteps that anybody would have made at the height
Yeah,
of his popularity. Like you
yeah.
mentioned, trying to, all the people that you've worked with, like trying to bring them up with you. He did that Addams Family song, and for an artist in a genre that wasn't super comfortable with the sellouts, he was like, just put that money in my bank account and I will give
He
you
was
guys a song.
the dude was selling. He was doing movie theme songs. He was selling chicken on TV. He was doing soda commercials. He was doing everything. I mean, for like a couple of years, his bag must have been enormous. But again, like you got to make sure what's coming in is more than what's going out. And I think he just had a lot going out.
I still think the song "Too Legit to Quit" should have been bigger, but I think people were just tired of him.
Yeah.
Okay, so uh,
This isn't the Hammer
no,
podcast.
no, but you know, uh, Hammer's a great story, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through every album, and you tell me, just like off the top of your head, like what you think about, what comes to mind. So obviously the first one, Radio.
It's a good album. It just sounds dated, like that era of rap is supposed to sound. There's a Donald Glover stand-up skit where he talks about how old school rappers used to sound, and
Mhm.
it's a really funny skit. And that's what I think about when I listen to radio now.
LL said the reason why Russell wasn't messing with him from the beginning is because he just sounded like people who were already out at that point.
But better. I
He
mean,
he it, but what it did is it made LL go back into the lab and make something better than what he was doing.
right.
Bigger and Deffer.
I mean, that's the album that really like blew him up, and there's still some of those songs are actually still very good, but it also still just sounds dated.
Yeah, very much so, but it's not my favorite because Mama Said Knock You Out is my favorite, but it's probably second, I would say.
I just remember everybody. I was in seventh grade, and everybody was in love with "I Need Love." Like girls, I mean, he was it, and it's one of those songs where I still remember every lyric to that song, but I can never listen to that song
Yeah.
again. It's just so corny.
Yeah, totally. Walking with a Panther.
Again, there's good songs on that album, and that album I think is kind of the beginning of his transition into sounding a lot less like an old school rapper and more kind of like the LL that we know and love. There's way too many slow songs on that album. He tried to make "I Need Love" over like 5 times, just was not hitting. I think one cool thing about that album is that Ella produced that album himself.
That's what he said.
Yeah,
There are some really cool sounding beats on that album too. The
yeah,
problem with that album, and he's admitted this, he was just in love with his own cool at that moment.
yeah. I mean, I'm that type of guy. I love that song, but like you're talking about leaving your drawers in somebody's hamper, some other dude's hamper. Like that's just a foul record.
Yeah,
Like, and he was probably doing that too.
he's probably doing that.
Yeah,
Yep. Mama Said Knock You Out.
classic. It's really LL's only great album.
And you would think, and so what's very interesting, and I wasn't able to really even think about this at that time because I didn't have the hip hop history knowledge. But from Bigger and Deffer, 1987, where he's hot, 2 years later, he just falls out with Walking with the Panther, even though Walking with the Panther, I think, goes platinum.
It went platinum. I mean, he lost the streets.
And
And between the time Bigger and Deffer and Walking with the Panther came out, like Rakim came out, Kane came out, like all these other dudes came out that were advancing hip hop. And that album really just kind of felt like Ella had his head stuck in his butt.
yep. And so the comeback album at the young age of 22 or whatever he
Yeah, man.
was with Mama Said Knock You Out. That's a crazy story because I
It's
didn't really
good.
understand what he was actually coming back from as I was living this album in real time. But to go back and just really understand the time and place and everything it's a great story.
Yeah, I mean, "Mama Said Knock You Out" is one of those hip hop albums where it's like a greatest hits record. Every
Mhm.
song is a hit.
And then 3 years later, we get 14 Shots to the Dome.
There's good songs on that album. I like half the album. The problem is the other half.
This is where BMG comes into my life.
Eight CDs for $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't tell you about the shipping and handling though.
Nah, they didn't. And
Um,
they didn't tell you that you owed them like 8 more CDs at like $20 a pop.
and so my frustration with this time period is I am such an LL fan at this point, and he's getting flack for this album again for kind of chasing a harder sound, and that's not really who he was, and this and that. And I listen to the album, and I'm like, but I like a lot of this album. Like, what's the real problem with this album? And it didn't go. It wasn't insanely successful
No.
like the others were. The last three had gone, or the first four had gone platinum technically, and I don't think this one did.
I think it did eventually.
Eventually,
Yeah. I
so
think all of until Exit 13, I think all of his albums had gone platinum.
okay. So then we get, you know what I remember about 1993, by the way, is he's a marketer, right? He's a master marketer. He's a promoter, and he was showing up on all of the award shows. And
My album drops
yeah,
on
he would just keep saying 14 shots of the dome, and he would say the date that the album was coming out. And I think he also got a lot of flack for that.
yeah. Well, then the album came out and nobody bought it.
Okay, so yet another comeback album, 1995's Mr. Smith. Now he has kind of outlasted the Rakims and the Big Daddy Kanes, and there's these new guys. He's got Wu-Tang and Tupac and Biggie and guys like that to deal with, and Mr. Smith comes out.
And I think he just made a move to be a little more mature sounding. Definitely went into a more R&B kind of sound. All the singles from that album have super recognizable samples. So he was, it was Trackmaster's production. So it was very like basic. It wasn't super challenging. Um, he the first single had Boyz II Men on it,
Yep.
who were everywhere at that time, and just kind of like blew him back up.
And then 1997's Phenomenon.
He went full on and made a bad boy record.
Yes, very much so. Every single song on that album has like a recognizable sample.
Well, I think Puffy is the executive producer of that album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I will give him credit for one thing, which is putting New Edition and LL together, or at least Ralph Tresvant and Ricky Bell.
Yeah. I mean, I love that song.
Yeah.
Still. And that album was tied into his autobiography.
Right. I make my own rules.
That's right.
And then 2000's GOAT, the braggadocious LL, is back. Calls himself the greatest of all time.
Which, I mean, look, you can make a case for that. GOAT's not a great record. It's maybe a little too long. And it's again the problem with so many LL albums is that there's some joints and then there's some stuff where you're just like, nah, this doesn't work.
Yeah. And then in 2002, 10.
I actually like that album.
Love You Better.
Yeah. I actually like most of that album. I mean, it was one of the few hip hop albums we could play in the record store at that time because he didn't curse on that album.
I mean, he doesn't really curse on most of his albums, I would say. And I think he always said that as like, he always had his grandmother in the back of his mind as a reason. And then 2004's The Definition.
Oh, well, Todd Smith came in between those, no?
Todd Smith is 2006.
Really?
So it's 2 years after The Definition.
I mean, that Definition was a Timbaland album. Like Headsprung is dope. There's maybe one or two other songs on there that I really like, but again, he can't keep it together for a whole record.
You remember, this is before we had Apple Music and Spotify. We had iTunes. Mm-hmm. And I was just searching through his catalog, and Apple Music has an actual album called LL Cool J's iTunes Originals.
I saw that yesterday.
And so I was kind of clicking through it, and it's just some songs of his. But then he kind of redoes the vocals on some songs to give it like the original iTunes version. So it's kind of interesting because you mentioned Headsprung. So for the longest time, I thought it was They Call Me Big Ellie Big Selly,
Right.
like sell. It's not Selly, it's Big Silly. And so he says this on one of the interviews that I listened to. He's like, people think that it's Big Silly, but it's actually Big Silly because I'm just goofing a lot of the time. But then on the iTunes original, he very clearly says Big Silly.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was today years old when I learned this.
I was 2 weeks ago years old when I learned this, when I first started doing my research.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and then and so like within that iTunes original album is like some little clips of interviews, and you know, it's during this 2004 time frame. He's not saying anything that's really reflective yet.
Right.
So but you know, it's interesting to see that he re-recorded some songs for iTunes. And then 2006, and this is, you talked about R&B album. This is an R&B album, Todd Smith.
Yeah. Again, not a great record. There's a couple of songs towards the end of it. He has one song with 112.
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting married, and I can't remember the name of the song. That's a really nice song, and he has
This
like,
is also the one with Jamie Foxx, I think. Like,
yeah, like Jamie Foxx is on it, Mary J. Blige is on it,
yeah.
Mary Mary's on it. Like, there's Tierra Marie, for anybody that remembers her.
Yep.
She's on it. Yeah, I mean, it's way too much.
And then 2008's Exit 13. So the Exit 13, I think we all assumed meant that this is going to be his last
Retiring.
album.
Yeah,
It was not.
he did the Jay-Z thing.
It was
Like,
not. Yeah, he
yep,
has is this the album with gosh. I think he does is this the one with New York, New York at the end? Or is that
yes.
authentic? Okay. For Exit 13, this is like, if this is going to be your opus, like, nah.
Can't go out like that. I mean, and that was the 50 album. And I get it. He's from Queens, 50's from Queens.
You know,
50 was hot.
supposedly he has an entire album with 50 Cent that they just never put out.
Yeah, they can keep that.
They can keep that. You know who else he said he's got tons of songs with that just never came out is Dr. Dre.
I can see that. I mean, Dre and LL have been tight for a minute, and I vaguely remember hearing that Dre and LL were working together on some stuff, and I think they put one song out together called Zoom, which
Yeah,
is
on the Bulworth
yeah,
soundtrack.
yeah.
A zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah.
Again, not
Well,
a great song,
okay, I don't know if we're gonna do a Dr. Dre episode or not, but this man has so much music with a ton of people that just never comes
and
out.
never comes out.
He
I
just
don't
sits
understand.
on it.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess he doesn't have to be rich because he invested in the headphones. So
yeah. I mean, Dre's got more money than God at
yeah,
this point.
yeah.
So
Okay, and then 2013's Authentic, not a very authentic record.
I mean, maybe authentic to who he was at the time,
Yeah.
but I think my man was just kind of like working out, and was all about kind of like expanding his brand, and wasn't really about making a great hip hop record.
And then it was like a indie label or something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't like
yeah.
on a
He had
major
left Def
label.
Jam and put it out on like his own label.
And then 2024 is The Force, which is yet another comeback album, and we're very thankful for it. And we'll dig
Yes.
into it more now. Okay. So, like I mentioned, it is very conscious of his time and place and who he is. There's a song called Spirit of Cyrus that I really love. Now, do you know what I mean, you've seen the movie Warriors from like back in the
Yeah,
day?
yeah, from the 70s.
So Cyrus is the guy in Warriors who they've gotten all the gangs together, and they're going to try and work together because they don't like the way that the police treat people. And so the gangs are all together, and they've chosen Cyrus as the leader of like all of the gangs. And one of the gangs actually shoots and murders Cyrus while he's speaking to all the gangs. Like, that's how the Warrior starts out. And then it just becomes like these guys are all running from each other and stuff. And so Cyrus is the guy who goes, "Can you dig it?" Like Shaq always does that, and like it's a very memorable drop.
Yeah,
And so when he calls back to Spirit of Cyrus, I was like, "Wait a second here." Like this is what is so great about um not just hip hop, because other genres of music will do this, but you call back to a very specific thing
yeah,
and you use it as like the meat or the spirit of what you are talking about. And I thought
yep.
that was so smart. I was like, you know what? I don't know if LL was watched the movie or if Q-Tip was like, hey, like I want to use
I mean,
this thing,
could have been both.
whatever it was. But I just thought to kick off the album with that is so thoughtful and so smart and so hip hop. I was like,
Well,
this is what I was waiting for.
it's intention setting. You know what I mean? It's like when you make an album, if you're really trying to structure an album, your first song should set the table for the remainder of the album. And I think this was really just LL channeling, that Warriors energy, that old school energy, that old New York energy, and just being like, hey, like I'm not messing around with y'all this time. Like this is a real LL Cool J record.
Have you seen where he said that as he was recording this album, he kind of had to go back to rap school, like he needed to like sharpen up his skills? What is rap school for LL Cool J?
I mean, what I would assume is just that LL went back and listened to some of those old records and was like trying to put himself in the mindset of where he was when he made those, the mindset of where hip hop was when he made those. I can see, like, if you want to make a great rap album, then I'm gonna put on Public Enemy records, I'm gonna put on my Rakim records, and I'm gonna just like study that to get back into that zone.
The fact that the man kind of helped invent the genre to where it is today had to go back to rap school.
Yeah,
That's something, man. And so the making of the album, as we said, Q-Tip the executive producer, and in some cases, this is almost like a Q-Tip collaboration, even because Q-Tip's on a lot of songs,
yeah,
mostly singing, rapping hooks and stuff. But you hear
yeah.
his voice on almost half the songs, I think. So they recorded it at Q-Tip's home studio. Um, and it took them a long time to do it, and he scrapped a lot of versions of the song because they didn't feel, and here's that word again, authentic enough.
Authentic, right?
And I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Is this story, or do you think this is a little bit closer to the reality of what happened? So LL had a dream about Fife Dog, in which Fife Dog was kind of making fun of the music that he was making, like kind of like smirky and just being unimpressed with this version of LL. So LL took that as a sign that he needed to get back to real hip hop. And so he reaches out to Fife Dog's main man, Q-Tip, to work with him on this album. Fiction, reality, where do you think that story lives?
I mean, probably fiction. It's a good story. I wonder what was the impetus for LL and Q-Tip to work together, because when I think about the way I thought about LL and Tribe as a kid, as a teenager, I would have never put LL on a Tribe album or put Tribe on an LL album. Um, so I would be curious what led to them working together. I'm glad they worked together,
Yeah.
because now as mature men, they fit much better together than they might have in maybe the early 90s. Actually, shit, Q-Tip probably could have made 14 shots to the dome a lot better.
Yeah, he could have.
You know?
um okay, so I like these guys are kind of from the same area, right?
Yeah, I mean Queens is big, but they're from more or less the same area.
And how old is Q-Tip?
Q-Tip was born in, if I remember correctly, 71. So he's only 3 years younger than LL.
So, I wonder if it comes from, actually he's only 2 years younger than LL.
Okay.
Um I wonder if some of this has to do with these guys have actually just survived, right? Like who
Yeah.
is still at the top of their games in hip hop that comes from the same time frame as them. There's not that
Yeah, I mean,
many.
there's not that many. There's not that many.
I mean,
Um,
we are so thankful we still get De La records today, but one of the members of De La is no longer with us,
no longer with us.
just
Yeah,
like Fife Dog is no longer with us.
right.
And so these are guys who have just withstood the test of time. And Q-Tip, I think I wish Q-Tip was not as kind of mysterious as he is. I would love to read a Q-Tip book. I would love to see, that we did get a little bit of who Q-Tip is in that documentary, the Michael Rappaport documentary,
Right.
but I don't imagine that he necessarily loved everything about his portrayal.
I mean, I have on pretty good authority that he did not.
Yeah. But that's why that movie feels so real.
Right.
Um, but I think there's an argument that Q-Tip is so much more important to hip hop than he gets any credit for, just because he's not out there promoting himself all the time.
I mean, and that's valid. I mean, because you think not only is he, an essential part of the native tongues and tribe, but he, discovered Jay Dilla. So that whole kind of second phase backpack hip hop neo soul type thing, he's kind of responsible for that in some ways. Uh, you think back to like, uh, I mean, dude's been on Janet Jackson records and
This
Michael
is what I
Jackson
was gonna
records.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Um,
he was sort of influential to like an earlier Kanye as well.
yeah.
So yeah, I just said like that this dude himself, I just think needs to be a bigger, more promoted part of music in
I mean,
general.
you should.
Like,
I just think he's, been through what he's been through, and he keeps it low key. Just think that's his mo.
yeah, he
But
was.
I mean, if Q-Tip put out a book, I would read that shit tomorrow.
I would just, yeah, I'd buy it immediately. He presented, I think he presented Dr. Dre at the Grammys with some sort of lifetime achievement
He
award.
presented Pharrell with the
Pharrell, that's what it
yeah,
was. Pharrell.
yeah,
It's the Dr. Dre award, I guess,
yeah,
that he presented him with.
yeah.
But that was a cool moment just to see him on TV. Just to see him. I just, every time I see him, I'm just like, I'm just thankful that I still get to see this dude.
It's like, come on, Q-Tip. Teddy Riley got a book coming out. Arsenio got a book coming out. You can put a book out too.
I'm here for, as we talked about, we put up the YouTube short and Instagram reel about if someone came out with an album today, we would drop it we would just go listen. Like Q-Tip was my number one. I was just
Yeah,
like if he was just on an album and he did another solo joint, or if he just decided to put a bunch of MCs together on a bunch of old heads and do stuff with people,
right.
I'm there like
Yeah,
immediately,
yeah.
midnight Thursday, refreshing my Apple Music.
1201. You're on your.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Q-Tip said when LL called him, he said, "Say less, big bro," and jumped on board immediately. And he saw it as a chance to honor the culture that they both helped build. So Q-Tip explained that, I think this was on Sway's show. He explained that the goal wasn't just to make beats for LL. He wanted to help LL create the blackest album possible. LL described what he wanted as he wanted the album to feel like hot sauce, chicken wing, flour in a paper bag seasoning. That was his metaphor for like the raw version of what he wanted to create. That also sounds like not very healthy, but
I mean, LL works out enough that he can probably eat the.
um but because LL had like this big ambition for this album, Q-Tip said he took it as like, okay, like if this is real, like I'm going to push him away from like that pop polish that we've been talking about and back into like a grittier space. And also like he's like, I'm going to executive produce the shit out of this album. I cannot be a fan. I gotta be a producer. So much so that he said he told LL that some of his verses sucked or were dog shit and forced him to rewrite them.
That's
Wow.
what you're supposed to do.
Okay, I get it, but I couldn't tell LL his verses were dog shit.
I mean, LL would beat the crap out of me. I've heard about LL taking out home intruders and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah,
So
oh yeah.
yeah, I don't stand a chance.
But yeah, hey, the right person to produce him, right? And which
Yeah,
makes me think. Now, it sounds like this album took a lot out of both of them to put out because we'd been hearing about it for so long.
right.
But if LL was to do something again, like this is the right dude to do it with, if you want to
Or
come back
do something
again.
similar. I mean, lately, the last couple of years, there have been so many like veteran rappers doing like an entire album with a producer. You've got the Nas and Primo album that came out recently, um, Common and Pete Rock. Like, you know, people are kind of getting these old school producers who have that flavor that they're used to and doing entire records with them. So another LL Q-Tip album, or I don't know, LL. I think if LL was teamed up with the right person, he's got like another classic album in him.
Q-Tip used the phrase spaceman rather than caveman as kind of the style that he wanted. He wanted LL to feel futuristic, which, if you remember one of LL's original nicknames, the
It's
future
Future
of
the
the
Funk.
funk, and rather than caveman, rather than going back to the nostalgia, that was also the ambition of the album. And so I mentioned the Spirit of Cyrus. The Force features a sample of Michael Jackson's voice.
Is it that I think that's Q-Tip talk imitating Michael Jackson's voice. I don't think that's the actual sample.
I just listened to it today. It sounds like Chipmunky Michael.
It sounds a little too nasal for
Okay.
Michael. I think it's Q-Tip. Also, like probably cost a lot less
Yeah,
money
it'd
for him to do that
probably
than to
pretty
get him to
expensive.
sample
But
it. Yeah.
if anybody could afford it, LL could afford it. Um, Saturday Night Special was the first single.
So go right.
I love that song.
I love the beat.
The beat is amazing. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's Rick Ross and Fat Joe, depending on what you think about those guys.
yeah,
Maybe you love those guys. That when that song came out, it just took me back. Like it literally took me back.
yeah.
It took me back to like I don't know, watching MTV in like the early to mid '90s, and just my mind being, you know, just wow, the creativity in this stuff. Um, the idea of Q-Tip, and like I haven't looked to see like what samples he used and stuff, but there's a thing that he does on this album, which I imagine is very hard, which is to take things that sound familiar that I like and also make them sound new.
Sure.
How whatever that means. I don't even know if it makes any sense in how I just said it, but like I feel like I did when I heard classic stuff, while at the same time feeling like this was something new. And that is an incredible feat that I think he pulled off with this album.
Yeah, and I think he did the same thing with the last Tribe
Yeah,
album,
they
which is
sound like cousins.
yep, yep. So shout out to Tip's producer skills, which keep becoming more refined as he gets older.
Now, I don't know that I would have necessarily listened to a Saweetie track on my own,
Me neither.
but on Proclivities, I was kind of like, "Ah, Saweetie, I'm not too mad at this."
It's fine for what it is. I mean, it's basically like doing it updated for the 21st century.
Yeah. And then at the end of the album, it's very interesting because the last three tracks, Praise Him with Nas, Murdergram Do or Duh, featuring Eminem, and then The Vow, which features 3 rappers I've never heard of and will never hear of ever again.
Right.
Like it's just I wonder why they did it that way, but
I mean, LL always has the one joint on his albums with like the homies.
yeah, Farmers Boulevard.
Yeah.
Um, what did you think of Murdergram do?
I mean, the video is amazing.
Yeah,
Um, I'm definitely not the world's biggest Eminem
yeah, me
fan,
neither.
but I mean, I appreciate the fact that Eminem paid homage. Um, you know, and it's fine for what it is.
Eminem, I will give him credit for being a craftsman.
Yes.
Like he really, really, really wants to be a great rapper.
Yeah. I mean, and Eminem, like as a technical MC, Eminem is dope. Like there's no two ways about that.
You
As
think
a
Eminem could hold his breath underwater for like 5 minutes?
probably, probably, but there's a difference between being like a great. I mean, this was a whole argument with Canibus, where and Eminem and Canibus had beef.
Yeah,
Where it's like, okay, you can rap your ass off, but can you make good records?
yeah.
Those things are different. And Eminem is somebody who, from like, if you didn't understand English and you were just listening to like his cadence and his syncopation and the way that he rhymes, you'd be like, this guy is the best rapper ever. But there's something like there's an intangible that doesn't translate into good records. Whereas you had people who were more, we talked about Tupac, who's I think a mediocre technical rapper, but made better records.
Eminem is around our age, as far as I know.
He's old. He's older than us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But we're close in age. Like he's similar in age to us. So the problem that I have with Eminem, and I think like I was watching, this is a funny comparison, by the way. I was watching Ace Ventura Pet Detective for the first time ever in my life.
What?
I've never watched that movie. And the reason is because I always found Jim Carrey way too silly for my taste. And that is what I feel about Eminem. I always felt that he was very immature and that he was way too silly to be taken seriously. And then he explodes and becomes like the most famous rapper of all time at that moment.
Right.
And so like clearly like to the audience that he was trying to reach, like they were just like, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. And I was like, he's kind of disrespectful and he's kind of silly and he's talking about like farting and stuff on record, and he's he's just constantly dissing people who actually can't get back at him, like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears.
I mean, it's the silliness is one thing, and that's just like a maturity thing that you grow out of, right? The things for Eminem that always were like non-negotiable for me were the homophobia, and the punching down. Like if you a man, you're gonna fight a man. If you're going after Christina Aguilera and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and Michael Jackson and all these people who basically are not going to get on a record and like diss you back.
You know who got him though?
Mariah
got him.
Mariah gangsta as hell. She don't play.
Clown is like one of the greatest diss tracks of all time.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I appreciate, like you said, the technical ability and his craftsmanship, but I still, whenever I even think of an adult Eminem, like I think of all the silly records that he made that people like loved, and I'm just not a big fan. And then he actually did go through like some crazy shit with his ex-wife and everything, and drug problems or whatever were involved there. But yeah, like a lot of the music to me was just like, I feel like you can do a lot better than this.
Better, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the album in of itself, I think, is just the forces. Where would you rank it in your LL rankings?
It's like high middle. I was listening to it a lot when it first came out, and then it just kind of like disappeared in the rest of my library. And for the last week or so, I've been listening to it again. and the songs are good when you're listening to them. I just, haven't been like, the album hasn't been really like calling my name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go back and listen to the album. I mean, and again, like, not many LL albums do. I think LL is more of a singles artist than an
Mm-hmm.
albums artist. But I do very much appreciate um, the fact that he went into this process with the idea to make a good album, and he made a good album.
It's kind of hard talking about charts and everything today because music is so different, and
Yeah.
comparing it to, how we've done other episodes. But I did want to do a Grammy Redux because it would have been this album would have been up for nomination in the 2026 Grammys because it came out in September, and I think the cutoff date is the end of August. So it would have been actually for this past Grammys. And here were the albums, and I've listened to all these albums, by the way. GNX by Kendrick, Let God Sort 'Em Out by Clips, Glorious by Glorilla,
Whew.
God Does Like Ugly, JID, and Chromacopia by Tyler the Creator. Kendrick is gonna probably win this award every time he's nominated until he just
Yes.
decides that he's not gonna care
Make
anymore.
records anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get the Kendrick thing 100%. The Clips album is actually pretty good, but as always, it's like, what are these dudes rapping about? Is kind of always
Right.
been the thing with Clips. But it sounds great. Like, you can imagine what it sounds like based on
Right.
the producers. But I think it's quality. Glorilla, we might just be old. I wasn't. I wasn't.
That's very diplomatic of
I
you.
wasn't a fan. Um, I like Tyler the Creator, but I've liked a lot of the Tyler the Creator albums in the past more than this new one. I would put this LL album. It should have been nominated. I think that people just forgot about it.
And maybe people forgot about it. Um, yeah, I mean, so you will never, ever, ever catch me listening to a Glorilla record. That's just never going to happen. So we can kind of knock that out. Um, I mean, or JID. So take those two out the equation. Clips, for the reason that you stated, I don't need to hear 50-year-old men talking about selling drugs.
Yep.
So I deliberately did not listen to the Clips record. I like Tyler. I think he's all right. Nothing about Copia really stuck out to me. But maybe I just didn't like listen to it intently enough. I would put the Kendrick album and the LL album probably like even. Um, I feel like they're both actually very similar in a lot of ways. They're both short, um, both like consistent in terms of production. Uh, so and both of them, like, I don't mind when they're playing, but I'm not like going crazy, crazy. Yo, let me hear this song, or let me hear this song from this album. If it comes up, it's great, and I'll listen to it and I'll enjoy it. Um, but yeah, I put those probably neck and neck.
All right. Let's talk about the no skips rating. Now, if we could no skip rating every LL
Ah,
album,
oh God,
and like you said, I think his stuff works a lot better as a singles artist.
right.
All World, right? The greatest hits album. Um, the and he put out an All World too.
There is an all world too.
Okay. And then he's also done stuff which we'll get to in our top 5, where he's done stuff outside of his albums with other artists that is memorable. But I think this album, the thing I like about The Force, there is a connectivity to The Force that doesn't exist in a lot of his other albums.
I see what you did there.
um and thus I think the no skips rating is much better on this album than maybe, gosh, anything since. I'm gonna go back up now. I know you said you like 10 a lot. I can dig that. Even Mr. Smith though, like, there's stuff where I just absolutely do not like it, and I quickly get through it.
Right.
You know, Mama
The
Said
force
Knock You
is
Out is maybe Mama Said Knock You Out and Bigger and Deffer I can just play all the way through and not even think about it. But
yeah.
other than that, there's not many albums that I can play all the way through of his. I can play this one, and you I think you benefit by playing this one all the way through. So I would give this one like an 8, no skips rating.
Yeah, I was thinking like 7, 7.5.
So, all right.
Yeah.
So we got it done. I think this was like when it came to creating the rundown, I was like, do I need a month to do this thing?
I
Like,
mean, we could do episodes on like 5 different LL albums.
yeah. And so, but I think the thing about this project in particular is we're giving ourselves like a deadline. And that actually
Yeah,
helps me get through some of this stuff instead of just sitting on it. And, there's no perfect rundown. I could, have a year to put together a rundown and I would never be happy with it just because, you want to do the perfect podcast. There's no perfect podcast. We're just having a
sure.
conversation.
Yeah.
But this, I was trying to think of this as to kind of bring this back full circle about what this 50 for 50 is about. We connect first and foremost through Michael Jackson, I think.
Yes.
There are other artists that we both love, maybe more than a lot of people. There's a John Mayer connection that you really turned me on to John Mayer, early John Mayer. But LL is kind of like next, I think, in New Edition
Oh
and
yeah, I think
LL.
it's MJ, then New
And
Edition,
then
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 LL.
LL.
Yeah.
New Edition's a little different because they're like, there's so many different parts of New Edition.
Right.
But this is somebody who was such a big part of my childhood. And I think I mentioned this on our the very first episode that we did, which was just kind of explaining why we're doing this show. And when I was, everything that you do in high school for some reason like is just so memorable. For these moments where you're like, "Oh, like the world works in this way. Oh, like this is actually what it means to do this." And when I was a freshman, and I think I was either freshman or sophomore. I'm trying to remember the time frame, but um, playing basketball on the basketball team and having to go to weightlifting and seeing my coaches who were so much older than me at that point, but were really only like 8 or 9 years older than me.
So,
Not that much older than me, really. But my one of the coaches in his giant boombox in the weight room, the first he plays it, and I'm like, "Cars ride by in the booming system. What
system.
is this?" And then just to see how cool he looked lifting weights, vibing to this album, that made me want to feel that same way. And
Sure.
in that moment, in that gym, being accepting, how do I get into this? How does this culture, how does this music become mine? Right. And that's a little bit different from what I was listening to previously, which is heavily influenced by, my pops or, it's just friends as you're younger. But this is the first time where I'm like, this dude is cool. What is he listening to? And if he likes this stuff, it must be also cool. And
Cool.
I was just lucky that at that time it was LL Cool J's Mama Said Knock You Out and not like, something else that maybe wouldn't have withstood the test of time.
That's the time. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, that is what LL means to me, going all the way back to like, I'm just a teenage kid, trying to figure out how to network with people, how to fit in with things. And this is like the moment for me.
Right. And I think there's something to be said about the way that LL was able to, as a rapper, really cross through all of these different like demographics where your mom knew who LL was. If you had a big sister, she definitely knew who LL
My
was.
cousins, I was like,
Right.
why didn't you tell me about this dude LL? And
Right.
they're like, yeah, but he kind of fell off. And I'm like, no, Mama Said Knock You Out it's like, you got to listen to this.
Right. Right. So I think it's for people who are too young to remember a time when hip hop was the knowledge of hip hop and knowledge of hip hop artists was only like a certain segment of people. Like LL was one of the few people who kind of like broke through to everybody.
Shout out to Mr. Javis, Eddie Javis. He passed away last year. He played basketball at the University of Cal, and then he was also, I think he became the principal of my high school at some point after I was gone. But yeah, he would be the one who turned me on to this album. Just I'm not lifting weights like very much at that age, but it's such a big part of my life now. Like I still lift today, and probably part of that reason is because of that moment in weightlifting class when I was a kid. All right,
Respect.
50for50.net. Check us out. Got a lot of content on the website now, the YouTube channel as well. Yeah, hopefully you are along this ride with us. And by the way, I want to shout out your Discord, because we've gotten some really cool feedback. I know that you've actually talked to some folks in your inner circle, and they've enjoyed. So I mean, that makes me happy, because one of the reasons why I reached out to you about this is because I was like, okay, how can I take advantage of Mike's vast pop culture brain, music brain, in a way that we could just do something really, really fun. And that's, in my mind, that's kind of the genesis of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so to hear people say that they really enjoy it has been awesome. Now, if you do enjoy it, you could tell somebody else.
Tell somebody else, leave a comment, we'll read it on air. A friend of mine texted me when I sent him the podcast, and now I gotta like get up and find my phone.
See, this is why Mike is a true professional, because he does not bring his phone to his recording space so that he doesn't get, the phone.
I don't want to get distracted,
Yeah,
and I also don't want it to like buzz or beep or ding in the middle of the podcast and make noise. But my friend Harv says, Mike, I finished the first New Edition episode yesterday. You and Garrett are definitely big fans. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to it, and I see another 30-minute episode is next. I assume he's talking about the top 5 episode. It's always great to geek out when it comes to music.
Shout out Harv.
Yeah.
Appreciate those kind words. And Mike and I think we're doing this for us. We're doing this for our friendship. We're doing this so that we can stay in contact and communicate and be as close as we can. And at the same time, if people enjoy it, I do appreciate it. And
come along for the ride.
Yeah, like I said, tell a friend. If you like it, tell somebody. Hey,
that's right.
50for50.net. And yeah, hopefully, we'll get some more listeners. But this episode is done. The next episode will be our top 5 episode on LL, which is, come on, man, how am I supposed to break this? It's my fault. I'm the one who created the.
Yeah, you suggested this, so I'm gonna blame this on you.
So we'll be back. For Mike, I'm Double GC. When we see you, peace out.